how you mentioned the elements. You said there were 4 elements.
Yeah.
And just to briefly go over those.
As a first question?
Yeah.
All right.
Basically, what is the wood window, the elements of it?
Okay. I learned a long time ago to break the window down into its 4 major elements. Okay. And what are those elements? Well, first, probably the most recognizable part is the sash. Okay, and the sash is the part that has the glass in it. Okay, it's the little frame. Maybe it has a grid in it. Like we're working on these. These have 6 panes of glass, and that's called a 6-light sash. Okay, and we've got 2 sashes, 2 6-light sashes, and so 2 elements would be sash 1 and sash 2, top sash and bottom sash. Okay. All right. Okay, so those are the first 2 elements. The second element is the frame. Okay, and the frame is the part of the window that does a lot of things. Actually, it is the casing that that encapsulates the actual hole in the wall, right? Because you've got a hole that is the window, right? And something's got to encapsulate that. That's the frame, and the frame has you know, the inner parts, you know, and then it's got the casing around it that holds that inner part's called the jamb. The casing holds the jamb in place on the outside and the inside. Okay, and the jamb is set up so that there's tracks that the sash ride up and down in. Okay.
Okay.
But the frame that holds the sash is not the sash, right? The frame is to the sash on a window what the frame is to a door, right? A door without a frame, you know, you could make a table out of it, right?
Yeah.
You know, you have to have a frame. All right, so the frame is the third element. Okay, now the other thing the frame does is it works to direct water away from the house. Okay, that's a really, really important function of the frame. Okay, and it's the canvas on which the sash are mounted. Okay, so that introduces us to the 4th element, which is the mechanics. All right, and the mechanics is it's the grouping of all the items that connects the sash to the frame.
This knot is really simple. You just put this around, wrap around. Where you think you go through here, you do not. You go around one extra time to slide it back through here. And you just give a nice tug on either end, and you just let her sit down there. And there she goes. She's some good. And now you always want to give it a cut, but obviously right now we're not going to want to cut too much because we still have windows to put in, make all that kind of stuff.
And it's going to be the lock. The lock is part of it, right? You've got the pulleys, okay? The pulleys and the ropes. The ropes, you know, the ropes attached to the sash on the inside, on the pocket side. It's like you can't see. There's these weights. The weights are what counterbalance the sashes. All right. You might have a handle or a lift or something like that. All of those things fall in the category of mechanics, and they are how the sash relate to the frame. Okay, and that's your 4th element. So the 4 elements are the sash, top sash, bottom sash, 1, 2, the frame they fit in, and then the mechanics to tie everything together. Those are your 4 elements of the window. Now, I'll just say this, that's a double hung window, but all windows have those at least 3 elements, right? At least 3. And it's got to be the frame, the sash, and the mechanics. And I say at least 3 because some windows are casement windows, okay? Casement windows are the kind that have a sash that opens and closes on hinges. Okay, and that's different than a double hung. Okay, casement windows are actually an earlier design than the double hung. Double hung is much more advanced and solves a lot of the problems that casement windows have. You know,
Which were what?
well, the casement window design is actually very ancient. You know, it's basically a door, right, in miniature. Okay, and the casement window is designed to swing open. Is that the panel that swings open that covers the hole in the wall? Okay, you know, very early windows, they just had something you stuck in the hole, right? You know, the next iteration of innovation was the hinges, right? That allowed that covering to remain on the hole, right? And be able to, you know, open and close at will. That was a great invention, okay? Now, all kinds of coverings for the window. You could have planks, wood planks with battens holding the planks together, you know, sticks, animal skins, whatever. Eventually, you know, they came up with frames and glass and things like that. But the thing that makes casements complicated is, okay, you've got the house. Let's say it's hinged on this side. You know, when that casement opens, all right, you've got gravity that affects the open side. Okay, you've got the side that's connected to the house on the hinges. That's locked in place, can't move. Okay, I mean, if the house moves, okay, fine, but fundamentally speaking, it can't move. It's locked in place. This part that swings is free to do whatever it wants to the elements. And if it's made out of wood, wood is a natural material that fluctuates with like moisture in the air and environment. It's affected by gravity, rot, all kinds of things. Well, you've got this thing that's allowed to just be wild in nature, do what it wants. It's gonna sag, it's gonna twist, it's gonna warp. You know, all these types of things, right? And these are all problems that everybody knew about. You know, there's solutions to these problems. But the double hung is different than that because both sides are isolated in tracks, right? Those, you know, the parting bead and the window stop, they keep those sides rigid. Okay, they might want to twist and warp and things like that, but they can't, right? Okay, and they're kept in place, they're kept in check. So that solves that one of those problems, and so it's a much more advanced window. Okay, and you know, and it goes up and down. You know, the double hung window. You know, well, what do you have first? First you have the single hung, right? Then the double hung emerges because, hey, if we can make this one go up and down, why can't we make that one go up and down? That makes sense. You know, so I mean, you've even got triple hung, you've got quadruple hung. You know, matter of fact, where we're staying over in north of the Alamo Dome, our little Airbnb, across the street, they've got triple hung windows, huge, tall. You know, and they from the porch all the way up. So, but you know, they slide up and down in tracks. You know, so actually those, like a asking about the elements, a triple hung window would have 5 elements. You have a top sash, a middle sash, and a bottom sash, right? And the reason you break it up into elements like that, you know, casement might have, we were talking about casement because casements, they can have 3, right? They have 1 sash, right? A frame, and then the mechanics. It might be hinges, it might be a crank mechanism, you know, something, you know, some kind of stay to hold the window, things like that. Okay, but the reason you break it into its component parts, into the elements, is because, you know, every element is a fixed unit of work. Okay, all right. There is a sash, and there's a limited number of things that you can do to the sash, you know, from a minor repair to a complete rebuild. You know, somewhere in that in that arena is what you're going to do to that sash, okay? And that's why that sash gets that price, okay? Because whatever you got to do to that sash, it's isolated, right? That's your isolated price. See that? Okay? So that's sash 1, isolated price. Sash 2, isolated price. There's only so many things that you can do to that window sash, right? You know, whether you do it for $100, you do it for $1,000, $10,000, $500, whatever, you know, there's only so many things that you can do, you know. Some people do it better than others, but that's a different question. You know, the frame. There's only so many pieces to the frame. Yeah. You know, most frames have 2 sides, the top and the bottom. Okay? Beyond that, what else is there? Maybe there's decorative elements. You know, maybe you've got like a nice piece of trim at the top or something like that. Maybe the sides have a nice decorative trim. Okay? Maybe they have little rosettes at the top or something. Maybe fluted trim that's really, really nice. Who knows, you know? Okay? But it's still trim. Yeah. You know? It's still got 4 sides, no matter what you do. I mean, you can have round ones. You know, you can have round tops, okay? But it's just a frame. There's only so many things that you can do to that frame, okay? And when you talk about the mechanics, you know, there's only so many ways you're going to be able to hook up those weights. You know, you know, and you know, there's only so many ways you're going to be able to attach that lock. You know, and you know, but what the mechanics is mechanics is a lot of you. You know, it's a lot of the person, because it's you that determines how those sashes, number one, they relate to each other, right? And those two relate to each other, relate to the frame. All right. So that's what I've started to call tuning. You know, you have to tune the window so that it relates to each other properly. Like, okay, Sebastian's got his window over there. I went over to him a second ago or an hour ago, and I said, don't let me forget, we put this exterior blind stop on. I don't like the way it fits now. We're gonna adjust it. That's tuning, right? I mean, could we go in there and slam it up there, you know, and you know, too tight, something like that? Sure, okay, but you know, some people can tune better than others, right? But so that's kind of how that is.